as to the availability of that existing capacity, and you're going to hear about that now. There's production capacity that gets better and better and better. And that's what we're talking about, because for what we need now, we believe that with better communications, we'll be able to make that happen. So I know there's going to be a lot of questions about that. I don't want to go on too long, but let me just finish by saying, given what I've just said and what I believe what you're going to hear, that for what we need in the first phase, if these things are done correctly, what I believe they can, we will have and there will be enough tests to allow us to take this country safely through phase one. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Redfield.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I want to make a few comments here. First, I want to talk a little bit about CDC has developed multiple systems to monitor disease outbreaks. I think many of you are familiar, for example, how we monitor for foodborne illness or how we monitor for antibiotic resistance in hospitals. But we've also developed a system to monitor for upper respiratory tract disease. If I can get the first slide there. This is an example because when we talk about what we know about this.
What we are hearing and witnessing is everything that they're trying to do to combat this terrible disease that have come upon mankind. Yeah, that was me back in the days when I was a younger man. And that was a processing plant that I won $14.5 million with for a class action lawsuit, John Robinson versus Calkins Indian Town Citrus Company. Well, I just want to be able to let you know that we're in hard economic times. And we heard
Monitoring
and we hear
systems that have been
them
developed
discussing
over
the
decades.
issues that they are facing now today.
We have another one. This is monitored in emergency rooms.
Just listen.
That syndrome diagnosis, and they show the same thing. So we're well equipped to monitor and see when respiratory tract viral disease will come, and becomes a very good surrogate for when you begin.
They're talking with a lot of uncertainties. They don't have any answers. What they do have is to let us know that we got to wear the protective gloves. And by the way, today is Friday, April the 17th, and I am a minister. I'm a minister, John Robinson, and I'm an associate pastor of the First Antioch Missionary Baptist Church. And these is what they gave us to wear. And I don't have the mask with me, but I do have the mask here. But we have to protect ourselves based upon the rhetoric that they are talking, and they're trying to come up with some answers that they don't really have. And it's about keeping it real as we can keep it. And I hope that by the grace of God, that we can get the right answers. And I'm praying that we overcome this. But it's going to be some hard times that we got to face. And we got to face it based upon facts and truths of reality. And the fact of it is, no one really knows where this thing is fixing to go. They're trying to put the country back to work a little too soon. They don't really have the answers. But no one don't want to go back to Hoover days, but this way we're going to end up at. People got the stimulus monies. They plowed back into the street, intermingled with one another. No one knows who the carrier of it. I could be a carrier. You could be a carrier. and don't have no signs that you're ill, but you're passing it on. See, we got an infinite God that's working. And he's working this that we can't defeat it. And we got to get to the point that we understand that we got to work realistically so that things can work out the way it need to. These are top scientists and doctors, and they're addressing the nation, trying to give us the hope and the desire that we be able to make it and to be able to survive. Well, speaking on the lines of survival, you got to be steadfast with the Lord. You got to be able to stand on God's word and realize that you got to know how to eat out the garden. If you was a hunter, you got to know how to eat out the woods, hunt venison or whatever. You got to know how to survive. But what about the people that live in real dense population and the density? What about the low income people? People that's living below the poverty level. What about these people? Where is the fairness in it all? Can you measure the unseen problems and hardships that people have? That they was already having before this virus hit? Do you know anything about the underworld that exists in this modern day society? Where I'm in the ministry and we take people into the church. People come in and turn their lives over from selling drugs. They got children. They come in, they run all to God. Then they can't go out and get a job. Then in due time, they pop up missing from sitting on the pews. You don't see them in the church anymore. And they be reverted back to doing what they was normally doing because they couldn't find a job. This is the lifestyle. This is the cycle. Systematic injustice. When are we going to face the facts of truth? I mean, I can preach the gospel and be classified as the good guy. And a label be put on and say, yes, he's in the ministry, he's a good man. But that don't change the facts of reality. People are suffering, underprivileged. People going through all sorts of changes. What about these people that's been deprived all their lives? That was promised 20 acres or 40 acres and a mule and all of this by the government. But yet they were classified as 3/5 of a human being by the same government. Now, they got to put trillions of dollars out here now in the stimulus package. They could have did that with the promise that they made with the properties. Got to spend it now anyway. They got to put monies back into the system to make it stay functionable. It's got to feed upon survival. And that means they got to put money into the system. Now, who gonna get the bucket of money? This is the question now. How we gonna get through all the red tape and the paperwork and our portfolio is scarred? It's not scarred with God, but it's scarred with man through his systematic injustice. How can we survive it? We got to be able to sit down at some point in time at a bargaining table and discuss truths. We got to be able to discuss the N word. We got to be able to say that I'm not a nigger. And realize that that word is a word that was no good worthless person. all people don't fit that category. And many people might fit that category. But it don't have nothing to do with color. Amen. See, I pride myself upon being a human being. Number one, first of all, being human. And then having a realistic mind that I had a creator that created it all and created on an equal basis. They gave us a world of beauty, a paradise on earth for us all to enjoy. But see, greed came into the picture. What about looking back through time, through the scope of time? Looking back through the telescope of time. What did the Indian do when you look through this telescope to the American man? That he had to be wiped out and slaughtered. What did the African slave do? That he had to build an empire to be excluded from, to be rejected to this very day, and be able to survive. Was used for baiting. What do I mean by baiting? Mean that we was put in the arena of entertainment to fist fight with one another to be beat the other to death. Then if one lost the fight, get his brain blowed out because he lost the fight. Not even classified in the value of a man. We took out and lynched and hanged in trees. Be hanged upside down like Mary Turner was hanged upside down and belly cut open and a fetus and a baby fell out into the ground and that head was crushed by the heel of its murderer, but never solved crime. Based upon the fact that in a city of Valdosta, Georgia, on Patterson Street, that a man by the name of Sidney Johnson was dragged up and down Patterson Street before the people in the public. These are the kind of things that murk up the picture of the underworld. That we are supposed to say is, it was okay. We're all forgiven and forgive everybody for what they've done. It takes a strong heart to forgive, but we must forgive. But we must not buckle down and bow down to foolishness. But to stand for what justice and equality by the laws of the land and be able to fight and cater and help one another. This disease is bringing us to these states of reality that we must face the facts of life. See, I came from a migrant background. Picking fruit. Didn't know anything. Lived on migrant camps. Where me, my mom, my father, stepfather, sister stayed in a one-room place for a few years. Didn't have running water. Had a pump out in the yard that you prime and pump the water. Didn't have the privilege to have the cooking stove. Had what was on the camp, a kerosene stove. I lived like this. Saw it like this as a child. But come from a migrant background. I have a son that has his master's degree in psychology. Okay? That's doing very well for himself. I have a son that owns a business called Fabco Fabrication, worked for Waste Management in different major corporations and Hertz Rental Equipment and Waste Industries and doing it like that. Got shops downtown Atlanta. Doing very well for themselves. Own little farms. Have a son that have a master's degree in architecture degree. Went to Savannah School out in Zion, SCAD. Name is John Cornelius Robinson. And he's in Atlanta, doing very well for himself on a company called Tribe. My younger son has an engineering firm called Scribe. Doing very well for himself went in Polytechnique in Atlanta. But I came from a migrant background. Because we had to have it. So what I'm trying to say is that you got to want it, you got to desire it, you got to be about it, you got to want it, you got to have the ambition to want to go out and achieve something. Yes, I had them educated. So they didn't have to go through what I went through with. They didn't have to have the kerosene stove. They didn't have to live in the migrant camp. They didn't have to pick no fruit. Not the first one picked any fruit. To make a living. God has been with us and still is. I said that to generate hope, to let you know that out of everything that you face, there is hope. But what about the person that don't get the privilege and the opportunity? That don't have this, that don't have the ambition. I filed a civil litigation in 2000, back in 1983. Started in 81. Made the federal courts in 83. It lasted until 1994. I won the case. I sued George P. Calkins, Indian Town Citrus Company. Class action. And we fought for 11 and a half to 12 years on $14.5 million in the settlement. My case was the only one that was tried. It lasted 8 weeks. Manuel Noriega was in the basement doing my trial. I'm in the Library of Congress, being studied by colleges and universities right now to this day. The case is used for case laws. And I want you to know that God is with us. And what you are hearing these people talking about today about the disease and the virus, keep hope alive and realize where you came from. You came from a positive point of view. Even though it was through hardships, you can make it. And keep that in your mind. You can make it. And keep hope alive. Thank you.